I got through the first, like, maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and I was wanting to finish, but I got interrupted, so.
No worries.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, let's get going. Let's get this recovery going, man. Are you ready?
Okay. I'm ready. Yeah. So, basically, when I spoke to you last time, I'm still, like, in the same mindset. Like, I'm on the protocol, and I'm not struggling with that per se. Like, I'm okay with that. Because it's like I have a different mindset about it. However, there's a voice in my head that's saying, oh, you can do this for a while, and who do you think you are? Like, this is just one more thing you keep, trying, and you're just going to come back to me kind of thing. Like,
Oh, yeah, like you might as well just quit.
Yeah, and, you're kidding yourself. This is just, you do this all the time. Who are you if you don't, always chasing this illusion.
Okay, so hold on a second. Is this you telling yourself the truth? Like, there's two parts to this. There's, don't kid yourself, tell yourself the truth. That's important, because that is true. Where are you really at? What is the real motive? And, what's your integrity? And you might have one side of the integrity that says, I want to recover, I'm sick of this shit. But is there truthfully underneath it all a desire to be thinner? That still exists. And can you...
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
I think that...
Don't judge that, too. That's okay.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather expose that and just say, that is there for sure. I haven't faced what needs to be faced yet in order for that to go away. So I think when you hear yourself talk this way to yourself, I think it's important to understand the context of where that thought comes from, because it might be true. It might be relevant and true.
Yeah.
It might just be your awareness that if you're not willing to face these things, you are going to go in circles. That thought is absolutely true. So it's okay to look at it and see the truth in it, even if it does hurt.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and then there's the part of me that feels like this has been so much of my identity that it's like, who am I without all of this,
Okay. Yeah, and I'm going to rephrase that for you. You're correct. Another way of hearing it is, this has been so brainwashed that I've lost touch with myself. I'm so brainwashed by this concept that without it, I have a sense of nothing. Yeah. Which is what, truthfully, if I were to give you a different way to look at it from that vantage point, without this, you are back to where you were when you internalized it, which might be 4 years old.
Yeah.
For me, it was 4. For you, I don't know what age. Yeah. That you start to abandon your personal development. Yeah. It can be, for most people, it's when they're children, which is understandable. Yeah. How many children are given this open space of existence? It doesn't exist, really, because we're influenced by our parents, our friends' parents, your husband's parents. You know what I mean? Yeah. School, religion, cultural stuff. Yeah. Heritage, whatever is important in your upbringing. So when you break it all down, I think what might be important for you to start in this process is first of all, I want you to know our goal is to go into nothingness. That's our goal. We want to strip everything that's not real. We want to get rid of it. Yeah. That don't serve you, right? Because we could say, well, assimilating into culture does serve us. So are we trying to be non-assimilated, right? Should we completely abandon all cultural ideals and walk around naked? Yeah. So that's not what our goal is to first of all kind of, I want you to think of it like Aliens, where the alien is like in your body, in your spinal cord. We got to get it out. Yeah. Like an exorcism, if you want to say. Your soul, we don't want any attachments. That doesn't mean you can't you can't exist, for example, in a religion. It just means don't let it take over your soul space.
Yeah.
Right? You can enjoy cultural, human interaction, right? Wearing dress codes and, again, assimilating into a culture, but does it really need to become your identity? Yeah. Where you personally create a sense of your self, which is a sense of, which is a concept, right? That of who you are. Do you really need to have a concept of who you are that is given to you by a social concept? Right? Am I making sense to you right now?
Yeah, you are making sense.
Because what you're describing when you say there's so much of this that I've identified by, you're on target. This is the conversation that really underlies this whole thing, which is who are you without this concept that is saying, really, your life will be better if you chase this.
Yeah.
You just got to keep on chasing it. But the fact that you're chasing this makes you a better person. What happens then is you become held captive to what you're chasing and to the chase, right? That's like I'm chasing thinness, so now I'm held hostage to dieting. So often when people come to me, they have fatigued from the chase, but they still want what they're chasing. There's two things. There's what you glamorized, what you have, your desire. You have a lot of desire there, right? There's a benefit to that. There's a benefit to having desire. It means that you believe that you're capable of achieving it. Don't you say, if you look at that, wouldn't you agree? Well, that's a sign you have at least some sense of competence, or at least.
Yeah, and you feel like
you can get it.
It makes you feel, like you're striving towards something.
Right, but the problem is, it moves as you get closer. And so and not only that, but the other fallacy involved here is even if you do get what you're seeking, you achieve the goal, the illusion is that all of that work and the dedication and the focus, or even to some degree obsession on what you're trying to do, that all that goes away, it all melts away. Well, when it comes to thin supremacy, because it's so counter to our physiology and so counter to our psychology, if you stop what you're doing, the reality of our psychology and the reality of our physiology is going to manifest. Meaning you're going to end up needing more food to eat, compensating for the deprivation that you've been trying to repress, right? Yeah. The isolation and the physiology of that, survival mode, or especially around food, is to make you highly magnified and highly sensitive to food. So if you stop what you're doing, reality or the truth is going to come back to you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the fallacy is that when you get that thinnerness, that the illusion that you have in mind, that creates the euphoria when you dream about it.
Yeah.
The illusion is that you will get your freedom. Oh, I'll be relaxed. I can let go. I can feel accomplished. I'll feel good about myself.
Yeah.
I'll feel complete within myself. I will feel like myself. So that is actually a mirage of a higher state of consciousness. You're actually chasing a way of being that exists for people who have transcended the lower states of survival mode. The problem is that you've attached the solution to something that isn't yours. It's not real. It's not intrinsic. It's an external concept that requires a condition that is of the body. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do with the body.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So can you ever get out of this? Yeah. Can you ever actually reach or come out of survival mode with this? Especially since what you're choosing threatens food at all times, which is a primary trigger to survival mode.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost like, well, you kind of can't get out. You will never get out. You'll always stay in this state of mind because of the inherent fact that you have to deprive and diminish and be afraid of food. That immediately locks you in. You are being holding yourself hostage to it, and you can never escape. Because even if you do get the thinness, you have to perpetually be afraid of food, paranoid of food. So you're inherently in hell, reaching some state of an illusion of success.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there when I lost the weight, and then it's even worse because then you're like, oh, I'm not thin enough now, and I have to,
Yeah, you're paranoid. You're paranoid about the fact that you have to keep it. Because if you regain the weight, that's a sign that you suck even more because you couldn't handle it. You did all that work, and then you couldn't handle it. So people become even more ashamed of themselves, attached to this concept of thin supremacy, when they've actually lost weight once they regain it, because it is like yet more proof and even more what's the word? Indication that you are not just inferior, but you can't handle anything. So it gives it depth to that inferiority, And so when people lose a ton of weight, come out of the closet like, look at me, I'm so successful, let me use my before and after shots. Once they regain the weight, they're more likely to hide in shame and binge eat than they did the last time they were that same exact weight. The weight they were before they lost the weight.
Oh, I totally get that because my weight has fluctuated so much throughout my life that I've been there so many times. It's crazy. Yeah.
Right? Well, and then your fantasy is when I lose the weight, I'll go out in public. Well, you realize as soon as you lose the weight and go out in public, shit just got real because you had better keep your pedestal.
Yeah.
Right? And then you better have an excuse, right? You have to constantly defend yourself. You become highly defensive. So it's like being... And then, again, the downside of the pride of that thinness, even if you did work hard and you did kick ass and you are proud of what you've done, because of just this sheer dedication and effort and obsession that you've put into something so ridiculous, but to the culture we live in, it's something to aspire to because of the fantasy that's attached to it. That pride has a big downside. Which is shame. So it's like going from this inflated idea of, look at me, I'm spectacular, I'm really amazing, which is inflating the truth, right? Because it's attached to some restrictive process that is extremely damaging psychologically. That if you can't maintain it, you go down into, I am terrible, I really do suck. And so your whole definition of your worth is being completely... it's like being sucked down a river where you have no power around how you feel about yourself.
Yeah.
You do because you believe that belief system, and that's the only reason why you're holding yourself to it. That's where your power actually does exist. The problem is if you think that belief system is sacred, godly, it is unquestionable, it is... like the gold calf of all gold calves that you're worshiping. It's very hard to see that because you don't question the belief. You think that it's correct. So therefore, where is the problem? It must be me. I must be I'm terrible. So that concept of yourself and the worth you have is being completely defined by these ideals that are actually inhumane in the standard of what's expected of you.
Yeah, for sure.
That was a lot. I'm not going to lie. I'm probably going to post that one publicly. Where are we at? 13 minutes. That's about right. That whole 13 minutes I just did, everybody's going to see that.
No, it's absolutely true.
It's so hardcore, man. I mean, this is hardcore stuff that affects your psychology.
Wow. I mean, the thing that the thing being on the protocol, which is the downside, is I'm not being able to really see myself. I feel like I'm in like kind of a safe hiding place right now. So that's what's also coming up for me.
Yeah, you're so right. That's true. You're not making that shit up. That is the truth. And that's what I found over the years.
Yeah.
That when people get on the protocol, sure, we can sit here and say, of course, it's a great environment for you to really understand how you relate to food. But man, are you being enabled? This is not reality. Yeah. You're losing weight, for one. You know, so there's this gratification that you're getting underneath all of this that is supporting that thin supremacy. And it also makes this, how you relate to food less tense, right? Which is why people on the protocol, once they stop losing weight, their issues with food skyrocket. Their tension comes back with food because they're not necessarily getting the gratification of the weight loss.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's what, yeah.
Well, you can relate to that not just on the protocol, but in all respects to most dieting. Exactly. Yeah. So even if you were doing something as radical as this keto, which is actually, you know, basically the paleo, which used to be Atkins. It's the same goddamn thing, just with a different name, with new bells and whistles to make it sound cool. Yeah. And anyways, so it's so restrictive and so separated from your reality that you better get a reward for this, you know? And the thing is, when you sign up, the people selling it are like, your shit isn't going to stink anymore. You're never going to fart again. You know what I mean? You're going to be like, feel like you're 5 years old and you won't breathe hard. You can like run up a mountain in your breath. You won't even breathe. That's the shit they sell, you know? And
yeah.
So you go into it going, that'll make me feel better. Because you're chasing this idea of feeling better because you feel so shitty about yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Well, why do you feel so shitty about yourself? Could it be the system that's selling you this crap is setting you up to feel this way? Because the standards they're telling you is like you won't fart ever again or burp? Are you fucking kidding me? You're going to fail. What are you going to do when you burp? Oh my God, there's something wrong.
Yeah, for sure. So it brings me to say that I feel like I'm not able to really do the work that I need to do while on this. So I'm feeling like conflicted again about being on it because I feel like I'm, you know, living some kind of a lie, and I really do want to do the work. So I don't.
So why don't we get off of it? I'm fine either way at this point. Again, I think when we talked last, it was like, okay, let's focus on a decision here, and I don't know if, you know, if you stay on this, this is what it will do. Okay. The more weight you lose and the thinner you get, if you attach safety to that, if you attach pride to it, so those are the ego or the survival mode things, right? Those are the tools or weapons. Like this is a shield, this is a weapon. If you attach any self-defense to it, it will project into your fear of food when we transition off. Yeah. And so you will face it.
Yeah.
And so the benefit of you staying on here is you're going to face it and it's going to be real and it's going to be very harsh and very abrupt and it's going to be right in your face. Because your willingness, okay, the humility it takes and the willingness it takes to give up and to surrender some concept that is perceived as beneficial, that is recovery. That's the whole thing, to be honest with you, because you're basically in doing so, you're saying, I'm done being thinner. I'm okay with whatever it is. I'm willing to gain weight right now. I'm willing to sacrifice what I've attached or achieved in that protocol. If I gain weight, if I don't lose, I just don't care anymore. So the benefit of you staying where you're at is it's about to get real hard, real fast, real intense. It's like going through all of the entire recovery process right now. Okay. If you're not in a space that can handle that, or you don't feel that you can handle, because you can't handle it, it's a matter of you believing you can or cannot, or whether you have a feeling you can or cannot, doesn't matter. If you're willing to do it, whether or not you think you can handle it or not. Oh my God, that was a lot of confusing thoughts. If you're willing to do this without any sense of being able to do it, you're going to go through a very intense recovery, similar to what happened to me. It was abrupt, it was intense, and it was massive.
Yeah, okay.
And the thing is this, you might get there and go, I can't handle it, and you're going to back out. And that's when you're going to start dieting. Okay? And I'm okay with that. See, this is a cool thing. You just signed up for 20 sessions. You're so not going to you're not going anywhere. You poor thing. There's no refunds either, so you better just get over it.
Absolutely. Okay, well, I mean,
so
I'm okay with being on the protocol. I was thinking that.
Well, if you go off of it, that's one side. So that's like, it's about to get real. And I almost like, I kind of like that route. It's like going out the bottom hard. It's like dying, you're facing your thinness and saying, I don't want it. And you're not saying I don't want it in a way that is sabotaging. You're just willfully surrendering it in humility to say, I'd rather live a life free from this torment. I'd rather have a fucking piece of bread and be at peace with the world and at peace with my life. I don't want to have this chaos and drama anymore. So that humility, do you feel what I'm saying? Can you get a sense of that? What it means? Like you're willing to put the white flag up, even though you have nukes.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like, I will bury the nukes. I don't care. I'd rather say I'm a failure. So that's what that is. So if you choose to end now, you're basically saying, I'm going to do this a little bit more gradual. I'm going to go into facing the fatness I exist in. And I'm going to accept it as it is. And so you're basically starting with, I am okay if I'm never thin again. I'm okay with the body I have now. And so we're going into, am I okay to gain? Right? Because you haven't lost a significant amount of weight to where you're actually thin enough to get the excitement around it, you're not quite hitting number 1 or, number 4 and 5. Do you know what I'm talking about, what I'm referencing?
Absolutely. Yeah,
the 4th is the detachment from losing weight. And the 5th is the last point, which is if I lose it, I'm willing to regain it all. I don't even care. It doesn't matter. All of it is relative, and I relatively don't give a shit. Right? So that's the whole cycle of how I've been able to formulate what I think recovery is and how it ends up. So if you choose to come off right now, you're going to make it a little more gradual, but at some point you're going to need to face the potential of losing weight, right? You're in it right now. You're in it.
Yeah, you're right. I see what you're saying. I mean, I'm more of an intense kind of person, so.
Well, so here's what I've told other people in the past in this process, and keep in mind, I'm learning too. I am. The good news is I've learned quite a bit at this point. 3 years ago, I was doing pretty well, but man, let me tell you what I've learned in 3 years, especially with the HCG protocol and how it should be integrated, because I believe it is not appropriate for many things, for many reasons. In fact, if you're losing it to get the gratification and the narcissistic ideology or the narcissistic concept of pride, you're so screwed. So you need to give yourself grace right now. Yeah. In this respect, because our integrity, if it is true, and this is where you have to tell yourself the truth within your own heart and face some of the things within yourself. If our integrity is in line, I would say stay on. Because you are going to be liking what you see in the mirror. You're going to start getting that something's better. I'm improving. I'm closer to the mirage. I can see that I might actually get it, right?
Yeah.
To me, that's like, yes, go there. And then ask yourself, is it worth the suffering? Is it worth the isolation? Is it worth what I've given it? Am I willing to sacrifice it for neutrality? Right? So, yeah, on that end of it, that's what I would do. Only because it's like, if you want to slowly tear the Band-Aid off or you just want to rip it off. And to me, it's one way isn't better than the other.
Yeah, it just depends.
Where you're at, you got to be realistic with yourself.
Yeah.
So that's what I meant. Like, you need to be very honest with yourself in this process. Don't repress your truth. If you want to be thin because you think you're going to be a better person, you need to be aware that exists inside you. Even if you hear it and you're like, God, that sucks. You know what? It doesn't. It doesn't suck because you're in survival mode. And I would do the same thing under the state of survival, which means I don't feel competent. And the only way to feel competent is if I'm thin, if I'm attaching to some concept, right?
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
I don't judge it.
Yeah, and that will happen.
I know. So, the sooner you address it, the sooner you know where you're at. So I'm not saying, I'm not guaranteeing that if you decide I'm just going to stay on the protocol and face this head on, I am not saying you're going to recover right now. I'm saying you're going to find out what the truth is right now.
Yeah.
You'll know where you're at.
Yeah.
Versus, again, it's to me, there's more than one way to accomplish this. In fact, every single person I work with, of course, there's predictability in a lot of it, but how one gets to the place of complete and total surrender and the humility it takes for them to go into feeling like I'm in a white space and I don't even know what to do with it. The willingness to go into that vulnerability of not knowing, everybody's unique to what brings them to that point. So, I don't know. I think you're more than capable of making the decision, and I'm supportive of any direction. You just have to go into. So, if it was me, knowing how I came to it again after I recovered, I looked back and realized every single step every time I fell on my face, every time I went into denial was so critical for me to get to the point that I broke.
Yeah.
Right? Where I had to admit I have failed.
Yeah.
That whatever that is, right? So if you choose to stay on it and it blows up in your face, thank God we have 20 sessions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you choose to go off the protocol because it just seems like you can be more honest in the process, good too. So again, when you make this decision, I want you to give yourself a lot of grace and forgiveness for what you're going to find out. Because you don't really know what the end result is. We just have to trust that as we go through this, as you realize, I got to face this, I got to face that, or I didn't foresee this. Well, that's learning right there.
Yeah.
That to me, that's the best way to learn. Versus me telling you and you trying to memorize it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
God, this is a friggin' amazing session.
It's like my brain is like to process it all,
God. Lower your expectations. Our next one's not going to be this good. I'm going to be lazy. There's going to be... it doesn't come to me like this all the time. I'm on a roll for some reason. Maybe, who knows why. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's exactly what I need to hear. I'm still thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, there's been points, too, even though I'm not weighing myself and all that crap. But there's been points where I'm like, oh, I feel better. But I tell myself, I just physically feel better just because I'm not overstuffing myself or
of course.
Just taking a rest from thinking about binging.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, then I start to think, well, that's just exactly, I'm starting to think, oh, I'm getting thinner. So then there's that whole thing.
Well, good. At least you're aware of that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, you're not, it's not that I'm weighing myself. Because, I'm like the person that went on the protocol and then took a scale to Mexico,
Oh, Lord. That is such incredible effort. Think of it, and the dedication. Like, holy mackerel, that is like taking your Bible with you and making sure you stay on your reading course, on big, that's a lot of good work. Holy shit. You're like radical zealot level.
Yeah, no, it's
accountability. I work my ass off. There's some work ethic in there, man.
So, I'm noticing that it's where maybe my fear was also because I feel better. It's just like a break from thinking about what I'm going to eat. Am I going to eat this? And, that's exhausting. And so being on the protocol, that part is there's a freedom not having to think about that constantly. I'm like, am I going out? Am I going to eat a steak? Am I going to I can't eat bread. So
decisions made for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's benefits to that in terms of like looking at your issues with food, but the downside is it's nowhere close to realistic. You're in a vacuum.
Yeah, and that's why I thought maybe I shouldn't be on it because.
Well, I think maybe what I'm going to have you change your focus to is what you're doing. Don't worry about the food issues. They'll come back. Your issues were going to be hugely magnified. Nothing's going to change there right now, even though it feels peaceful right in the moment.
Yeah.
Where I would tell you to put your energy is on the attachment to being thinner and the concept of physically. Is it really that bad? Is it really that good? Are you distorting it? Is it being magnified by the pride and the survival thought process? Go into what will it be like when I go back eating like a normal human being, and what if these feelings go away? Is the thinnerness worth living on the HCG protocol forever? It's not. So going in and really questioning that, because if you attach to this concept of just feeling better, which we could say is relative to the binge eating you were doing beforehand. Yeah. So what is it? Is it the thinness that makes you feel better, or the release from the binge eating and the shame that you were attaching to your weight? I said, when you're on this protocol, you're getting off on this weight loss. It's like, oh, I feel back to normal. Oh, I fit back in my jeans. Oh, it's like getting rid of all those consequences, right?
Yeah.
Are you willing to surrender all of that and regain the weight and go back to those tight jeans? And if your answer is no, what is going to happen to how you relate to food once this protocol's over?
Oh, I'm going to be like binging all
You're going to start to deprive. Yeah, you're going to be really strict.
And then I'm going to go on another
diet. It starts with the dieting, right? It starts with I can't mess this up. I need to, get back on my keto forums. Whatever, I need to get back into, the food zealotry train, the restrictions, and then you're more likely to binge eat from there, right? So, yeah. So when I say to you, well, of course those food issues are there, to me that's not the problem. That's actually natural and what should happen under the circumstance. We need to look at the circumstance.
Yeah.
What's promoting that? Well, if you attach to this thinnerness or you maintain these feelings of victimization about the body and how it feels, all the work you're doing with food right now is for nothing.
Yeah.
And that's what I found time and time and time again. I could be working on this protocol with someone, going in and out of why they're eating and what they're doing and talk about all these relationships with food. And I found that it was like literally useless as soon as they started to be afraid to gain weight.
Yeah.
Then it was like they abandon all the work that we just did to go back into a restriction, and then instantly their distorted relationship with food magnifies.
Yeah.
That to me, there's no problem there. That to me is like, oh, well, that's human nature working perfectly. It's amazing. Your relationship with food's supposed to be magnified under a hostile, restrictive environment. That's how nature works. That's not the problem. We don't need to go there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? That's why I'm like, don't worry about your food issues.
No, it does make sense. I mean, that's what you're saying also, but 3 years ago you saw you did so many protocols with people that you saw these issues when you wrote your book, but I guess now it's like you've got
now I've got a shift in my way of approaching it. Yeah. Because I've had enough clients, I'm like, let's try this. I want to see if we take this thought and do it. I've had clients who feel that they've detached from their body image actually go on a protocol. Underneath it all, the truth is they wanted to be thinner and have recovery, which is super prideful. And they went back into a relapse, right? Yeah. And then I'm learning, well, you got to give them grace. You got to give them grace. You got to give them grace, because then they feel bad about themselves, and then I never talk to them again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm learning too. So,
the protocol is like the worst thing for someone like me.
Oh, it's dangerous. And that's what this new edition I'm going into is like, this is a warning. I'm warning people psychologically. I believe the protocol physically is a freaking miracle. That part of the weight loss apocalypse is relevant to me. The research that needs to be done, I think it is incredible. It is amazing. It has potential to be a healing process. But, when someone has these underlying issues with self-worth and brainwashing, it is poison. It is like you want to make them fucking crazy, put them on the HCG protocol.
Yeah.
Because as soon as they start losing weight, that narcissism just flares up.
Yeah.
And then their religious zealotry around dieting starts to get more intense. Takes over people. It takes over.
It absolutely does.
Yeah. Well, how long have you been doing the protocol now? How many years? When did you start? 2008?
2008.
Okay. So yeah, right when it was going crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. And the YouTube world of it, and everybody was doing it on their own. And so you how many online forums were you on?
Oh gosh. Yeah. A few.
So did you notice, just in observation now in hindsight, how many people became extremely radical around dieting and food and fear of food?
Oh, yeah. You mean on the forums?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
More so after the protocol. Yeah, and the fear, they would almost, it was like you can just feel it through their intense fear. Oh my God, I just gained 2 pounds. I don't know what to do. I did an apple day. Oh my God. And it sucks. It sucks to read it because you're like, this person's in sketchy ass survival mode and it is not good.
No, it's not. No. But then you'd see the person that has kept off the weight for a while and you think, what's different about them. But like you said last time we spoke, some people, they, don't have these, they're not as, they might be overweight, but they're not so deeply entrenched in this belief system. So I guess that's what always was like, well, why are they, some person would be like 50 pounds overweight and then they said they worked through their emotional eating during the protocol and that they've kept it off. So then I was always thinking, well, what's wrong with me? I have, they can do it,
Yeah, you just don't understand the context of where they were before, their personal beliefs about body image, their leniency of it, right? Yeah. Because what I have found is the more lenient someone is with the concept of thin supremacy and the less superior they think they attach to it, the less issues they have with food. The more superior someone feels in their thinness, the more pride they put into it, the worse their issues are with food, the more anorexic they become. The other thing you're not hearing, too, is the person who says they didn't gain weight back, number one, might be lying to you. Number two, they might have an anorexic problem. They might be abusing diuretics. They might be hiding in a closet and purging.
Yeah.
Those are a lot of the clients that I've had that used to run those forums, that used to be the people that were in there. They were hiding all of their problems. They had an obsessive issue with exercise because they had to maintain this persona of it's easy.
Yeah.
There's that part too that you're not hearing.
Yeah.
If someone says, yeah, I've maintained so easily, but I have to get rid of all gluten, all dairy. I count my points. I go exercise for at least an hour at CrossFit 4 days a week, and I'm on antidepressants, but yeah, I've been really successful.
Yeah.
Because I'm the same size, but should it take that much obsessive effort just to stay the same size if the protocol worked? No. Not at all. And you can read Dr. Simeons' manuscript, and he talks about they should go on with their lives as normal as long as they are, he talks about the 2 pound range, but he's so lackadaisical, in fact, around the fact that people should go back to their normal lifestyle and they shouldn't be as easily gain the weight. Well, not with our current way of doing things, because if you gain the weight, that means that you're a piece of shit person. You know, it's become so personal.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's either that or the protocol didn't work for me, which then you got to question, like, well, did you work for the protocol? And the other thing is, how much did you actually do it? Did you follow it? Do you have all these emotional attachments to food? Are you cheating the whole time? You know, did you not? Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
So in terms of where you're at with this, what do you want to do? Let's make a decision.
Yeah.
I don't care. So to me, I literally don't care. I'll adapt to whatever that is. I just want you to go into what you feel is the right thing to do. Be honest with yourself, and then give yourself grace around the fact that whatever you choose, you're going to fail at it. That is the potential.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I already know
But
that.
you have to be okay with the process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meaning you're going to do the best you can, and you have to be open to reality when it shows up, one way or the other. Because you might so for example, you might say, I'm done with this protocol. I really do believe I need to get off of it. I need to get into the truth of where I'm at. So we go in there, and you might get in there and be like, wow, this is awesome. I feel so free. You might actually get a sense of that freedom that people talk about in my sessions.
Mm-hmm.
And then you might start gaining some weight.
Yeah.
And then you might be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And then you're going to get agitated. And you're going to start having food issues. And as soon as you start having those food issues, what's going to happen to your weight? Oh my God, I'm gaining weight. Well, what are you going to do if you go back on a diet? Because you've already, so then that's, like I said, you're facing things gradually rather than having to face the worst of it all at once. So you got to be prepared for yourself to want to go back on a diet right away.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if I'm doing a very good job guiding you right now.
No, I'm just a little muddled in my, either way, physically, I know it's going to happen. I know that either way, I'm going to be,
fail.
My ass is going to be, I'm going to be learning.
Yeah, and that's what I meant when I said either way you're going to fail.
Yeah.
You just got to be okay with either way.
Yeah.
Because you'll at least have an concept of where you're at. Because right now, my sense is that you really don't know where you're at.
No, you're right. That's why the indecision. Yeah.
So let me see if I can help guide this. Let me think about this for a second. So you don't know where you're at really. You do know that you don't want, you do. Okay, so this is where I was going before. If you and I if we're kind of in line in terms of the integrity, my integrity with you is to help you free yourself from this concept of thin body image, from the body, from the concept of, and to get you to become real and truthful with yourself and become real, whatever that is. Yeah. Authentic, truthful, and you're living freely, basically. Yeah. Taking full responsibility, having complete and total autonomy. I mean, these are all, it's freedom, free will. Being a free agent. That's the goal. That's the goal. And like I said, when it comes to facing the reality of the body that you're in, if you lose more weight, you're going to have to be okay regaining it all. If you don't lose weight, you're going to have to be okay not being thinner. It's all the same thing. It's just looking at it from two different from thin up or fat down. Which one are you? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Either if I lose.
If you lose, you're going to have to agree.
Some possibly too.
You got it. That's what I meant. If you continue to lose weight, you got to be okay that you're going to regain it all. If you choose not to diet, you have to be okay that you're never going to be thinner.
Yeah.
Which is the same concept from a different angle. So either way, if you're not okay with either, you're going to continue to have strain with food either way. Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
So I guess the decision for you is to look at, am I going to be okay never being thinner? Is that going to bug me? Am I always going to wonder and hope? Or can I just let it go? If I lose the weight, am I going to be okay regaining the weight if that's what my body really is? Because I've worked my ass off and starved myself and deprived myself and limited myself and worked my ass off and I've achieved, the body has achieved this thinner state. But ultimately, once I have that, am I willing to let it go?
Yeah. And that's my pattern more than anything. That is difficult for me in my life because I've been such a yo-yo. You can see me 1 month, even without the HCG, I do some crazy stuff and then gain it back and then another 20. So that's the hardest thing for me to do. So that accepting that is harder than the first one.
Okay, say that again. Which one are you saying is harder?
The harder for me is to lose weight and then gain it back and then some. And I've done that every single time, and I've been so under the illusion that it's going to be
okay.
Different. So that's a harder one.
Then I'm going to say let's go there.
Okay.
Only because, well, okay, so let's just say you say I'm done right now. Can you permanently be okay never being thinner? Can you say, go into your heart and tell the truth? Don't repress it. What's the answer?
Yeah.
Are you going to...
There's part of me still clinging to that, to be honest with you.
Okay, then what I'm going to suggest you do right now is let's just go into hell. You need to lose as much weight as you can right now.
Okay.
God, pressure just went up, didn't it? The walls just collapsed. Yeah. So, okay, I'm going to give you some directive. Once again, you can do what you want. You need to stay on this round. I think the more weight you lose, the harder this is going to be for you, but it's got to be willful. That's the difference. This time it's willful. Every single time past, it's been fighting.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and toxic and dysfunctional and, pressurized. And our goal is that as you get thinner, it becomes more and more relaxed, because you're willing to regain it all as you're losing the weight. As you're losing this weight, you're letting it go. You're releasing it as it comes to you. Oh, my pants fit thinner. Well, you know what? Am I willing to starve myself to keep this? No. All right. Well, don't attach to it then, because you're going to gain it all back. So as you are losing weight, your goal is to accept the fact that you're going to gain it all back anyways.
Okay.
That would be the goal.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Because once you transition off, if you've emotionally prepared to regain all this weight, what will the transition feel like?
Well, it'll be an easy transition.
You got it. You got it. So that's idealistic. I just gave you the ideal, honey.
Okay.
Now, whether or not it happens doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
But now you can see there's a direction right there.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Does that help? Does that give you?
Yeah, immensely. Yeah, I feel much better.
Okay. Well, I think pinpointing the fact that losing the weight and then regaining it is the hardest for you. Like, that gets to you. That was like, oh, well, that's where we should go.
Yeah.
Let's make it horrible.
Yeah. Okay.
Face it. Face it and question it as it's occurring. Do I really want this? Is this really what my life is about? Am I limited to this body type? Yeah. Can I surrender this idea as it's occurring? Can I, as someone says, wow, you look so good. What's going on? Can you hear it? Be like, oh, thanks. No, I'm just, starving. I'm just on this new, anorexic program. It's called anorexia.
Yeah.
And watch their faces. They look at you like, oh. But yeah, I mean, being okay and detaching from it all. To know, these people have no idea I'm about to gain all this weight back.
Yeah.
And I don't care what they think, because I'm not willing to suffer anymore. I don't want to be anorexic. I'm done with anorexia.
Yeah.
So if it means for me to eat like a normal person, we could actually argue this protocol, the way your body is responding to this protocol may require the protocol to keep it this way.
Yeah.
So it may not be your natural body type.
Yeah.
Right? So we might need to take you into that unnatural body type, and for you to accept that it's not natural. What is your natural state? Well, we kind of need you to be open to what that is once this protocol's over.
Yeah.
So you just have to know what's happening currently is not natural.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay.
Doesn't that feel a little bit better?
Yeah.
So the intent is after this protocol is you are going to be willfully giving the body grace to become whatever it is naturally. That means you have to be natural in your environment with food.
Yeah.
So I described this to another client, like if the body, so right now you're eating on a scale of 1 to 10, you're eating a 1. Okay. Obviously a 10 is extreme on the high end. So what if your body actually needs between a 4 and a 6 in terms of the amount of food? That's normal. That's natural, right?
Yeah.
So right now you're eating a 1. Your body's going to be going in that one direction. So as soon as you go to 4 to 6, what's the real size of your body? Some people naturally need more weight. Naturally. It's just their natural build.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Where does your body land? Do you even know where your natural landing point is?
Not really.
All right, so keep that in mind, that our goal is that you let the body become its natural self, and it's none of your business from there.
Okay.
So right now you're restricting it with a 1. We can call it a correction from the binge eating aspect, but we really don't know, especially even, we could sit here and say you're going to get to your natural body, but how much of your natural body has permanently been changed because of all of the restrictive and binging and restriction and binging you've had over the years?
Yeah, I don't know.
It might never be really your original natural. It might now have a different original natural.
Yeah, because of all the abuse.
Yeah, and you have to forgive yourself and say, I did the best I could. If we knew the damaging consequences from the diet industry and the concept that they're teaching, of course you wouldn't do it again. But you know what? You can't fault yourself because you believed it like everybody else.
Yeah. It's a way to learn. I mean, it's a big lesson from this lifetime. Yeah,
and how much more of this life do you want to waste on that bullshit?
No.
So what we're doing right now, and the intention right now, is for you to allow the body to become whatever it is naturally. And then this is over. Right? Because if you can accept whatever that neutrality or natural state is, what's the point of dieting?
There's no point.
0.
It's like you can be free.
You got it. Oh, and that is recovery.
Yeah. Okay.
My body naturally gains weight, and then naturally loses weight, and then regains the weight. Why do I care? Why do I even need to monitor that? It's none of my business. It's a physical body thing.
Yeah.
So as you go through this weight loss with the very low calorie protocol, don't attach to it because it is not natural. This is not natural.
Yeah, it's not.
Super isolated. The types of food you're eating, it's nowhere close to reality. The palatability isn't the same. There is no diversity. I mean, it is nowhere close to reality. Your body's hormones are being manipulated by the HCG, so your hunger rhythms are significantly not normal, right?
Yeah,
so there's nothing about this that is normal.
No.
So don't attach to it.
Okay.
See, this is the stuff that I truly believe if people could have that concept right there, which is really simple, don't you think? It's kind of like elementary school. It's like they would be there's less likelihood that they would attach to the weight loss because they go, well, this is very specifically under this environment. And once the protocol is over, my body should go into a natural point. Its natural point. And if it's natural, it shouldn't require that I'm gluten-free, dairy-free, grain-free, having to do all this obsessive exercise, constantly doing cleanses, intermittent fasting,
supplements.
That's clearly also a unnatural manipulation. So what is natural? That means you live in neutrality with food and you find out what happens.
Yeah.
Can you accept the body if it doesn't match the thin supremacy standards?
Yeah.
If your answer is no, well, don't complain about your anorexic lifestyle. And the consequences of binge eating that occur because of it.
Yeah.
And potential bulimic tendencies. Doesn't this seem so clear? Is it clear to you right now?
Yeah, it's totally clear right now.
Yeah, like, wow, this is actually quite simple. This isn't that. What complicates it is the emotional attachments to, well, everybody's going to think I'm a terrible person. Well, yeah, maybe. Yeah. You know, facing those things, those symbolic attachments to my body's larger than what's worshipped. Well, are you willing to give up the desire to be worshipped? Yeah. If your answer is no, well then don't complain about your problems with food.
Yeah.
Just accept them. And even then, that's got to be better because you're at least accepting the issues rather than thinking that there's something wrong with them.
Yeah. Absolutely. Session on it.
Yeah, this is a record. This is like a record one. Like, oh my God. Awesome. Damn, girl. I'm getting good at this.
Oh, that's, well, I feel like I'm really clear right now.
Good. Well, and we have an intention. At least we kind of have an intention. Again, I don't expect you could next session be like, Robin, I started binging. I was out of the live, do this. And I'd be like, oh yeah, that's okay. Well, let's get off the, we'll adjust and adapt as we go. There is no right way or wrong way. We're just going to try to hold our integrity in a place of recovery. Our goal is recovery, and the route to that, it's going to happen as we go because you'll adapt to how you respond to things, and we'll move from there. So we don't necessarily have the map in front of us yet. We're just going and seeing, well, do we turn right or left? Well, let's turn left and see what happens. Okay, well, we'll figure it out.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, so let's schedule to talk